I want to talk to you about a new feminism for the 21st century. Then the feminist belief that in the sexual arena, women are like and therefore ought to act like men. Is this what the truly liberated woman wants? To have casual sex and think nothing of it like men do? Sexes need each other. For example, women civilize men. It's what we're supposed to do. But in order to accomplish this critical...
But about the single mother thing, I tried to make it clear that my sister raised her kids on her own, but she would be the first to tell you it was not easy. And that this has become, and of course we have to be respectful and understanding and supportive, but this has become a norm. And you have a whole generation of young women, not upper middle class women. Upper middle class women, they expect to have a husband, and they're choosing careers they can go in and out of, and they're going to have the romantic wedding. But a lot of working class women now think that they're going to have to do it on their own, because they're just not finding the guys they're going to marry. And again, for reasons that boys are doing so poorly in school, so they're not making it. Vast numbers of guys are not making it in an information economy. They used to depend on jobs in construction and manufacturing, and they could get into them somehow, make it into the middle class. You could realize the American dream 20 years ago, but that has all changed. You can't realize the American dream without some post-high school education, and girls are getting it and guys are not. And so that means that what's happened, I think, is that working class women and increasingly middle class women are just settling for the idea that you can't depend on a male. And I'm thinking part of my idea is that I think marriage has a civilizing influence on men. I think it's a critical social...
My fellow MGTOWers, beware feminists disguised as traditionalists. Yesterday I made a video, you can see in the description box, criticizing Christina Hoff Sommers, and I said I would make another video, which I'm doing right now, to elaborate more on my problems with her, and basically traditionalists themselves. So the reason I picked these two clips, the first one I found this morning and I was completely shocked by, the reason I picked the two clips is because they are remarkably similar. The first clip is about a feminist trying to reform feminism for a specific university because of the bad reputation feminism has got. And the second video is very much, it is remarkably similar in fact. They both depict men as in need of civilizing, and in that sense it is misandric. And I know both of them probably don't realize that is what they are doing, but what they are doing is they are prescribing a certain identity towards men. I.e., for instance, in the first clip you see how there were the icons for a male and a female, whereas before they got married, I think he's some sort of rock star or something, some sort of hippie whatever guy, and then as soon as he meets the woman, wife I presume, he becomes, I guess, civilized. Civilized in the sense that he's wearing a tie, and this indicates utility. It is basically, both clips are about utility. It's for instance, when Christina Hoff Sommers is talking about how women are not finding the men in colleges to marry because there's not enough men getting educated, and they're just deciding to go alone. Again, this is my objection to Christina Hoff Sommers. She's advocating, ironically, because she's actually against feminism because she calls it gynocentric, as for advocating gynocentrism. And yet, this is what she is advocating for herself. The reason why she is concerned with this state of men and boys is because we are a commodity, and it is the concern that she has is the economic impacts of not having enough education, and there not being enough potential husbands for women. So it is all about utility. These traditionalists do not have our best interests at heart. If they do have some shared common concerns, it is not out of altruism. It is simply out of how dare men not be utilities? How dare they not slave away at the office 9 till 5? How dare they choose to not be fathers? They're meant to serve us. That is the underlying theme that is behind these traditionalists, and particularly what I find behind Christina Hoff Sommers, which I'll go to in more detail right now. You see, what Christina Hoff Sommers wants is basically more privileges for women. And she's, I guess the term I would describe her is a feminist realist, or maybe a sustainable feminist, in the sense that she knows that the current system cannot last. However, what she wants to replace it is only a reformed kind of feminism. It is just a more efficient system. So instead of having quotas which affect the economy, what she wants is basically for women to have to basically go back to 1950s in a sense, with the ability to not have to work and the possibility of working if they do want to, and at the same time still getting all the perks that they get right now. That is why she keeps referring to how conservatism, how maternal feminism, and how equity feminists should work together. What she wants is a sort of hybrid, whereby whereby women get the best of both worlds, which also explains why she doesn't really talk about, say, men not being able to balance work and home life. She only refers to it as a primarily a female issue. Furthermore, she still believes in the need for feminism, what she calls freedom feminism. Now, I have a number of objections to this. Why do we need another feminist movement? Why not just call it equalism or equality, egalitarianism? And she says this in one of the links I've linked below. Some readers of freedom feminism have made a criticism not raised by Presley that has given me pause. Why call my view feminism? Why not label it equalism? I am tempted, but I still believe the United States needs a women's movement. Though the major battles for equality and opportunity have been fought and largely won, the work of feminism remains unfinished. Across the globe, fledgling women struggles to survive in the face of genuine and often violent oppression. She says oppression. Remember that she says she doesn't believe in patriarchy. In theory. I'm not really sure what she means by not believing in patriarchy. Anyway, in the West, popular culture contains strong elements of misogyny. Women are far more than men struggle with the challenge of combining work and family. Now, she hasn't actually answered the question here. Why call it freedom feminism? Why not call it, I don't know, freedom femmask? Femme for femininity, mask for masculinity. Why not just call it that? And the reason why is because she criticizes feminism for having for playing the victim mentality, but in reality she's not willing to get rid of that victim mentality. She still wants it. She just wants to apply it, which is why she comes across as bipartisan. But then there's always a for instance, she says something about how the media is particularly hostile to how the media is misandric and misogynistic, but women have got it slightly worse. You know, I mean, there's always that kind of but. There's always that, oh, but women have got slightly worse here. And that just doesn't compute. Men just do not have anywhere near the same rights as women have. Men are second-class citizens, and that is not hyperbole. That is true. You know, they cannot surrender their child. They cannot. They're still expected to sign up to the draft. She also says this, again, link in the below bar. The problem Frieden describes no longer exists. That is the boredom of being a housewife. For most young American women today, the problem is not the futility and monotony of domestic life. It is choosing among the many paths open to them. Finding men as ambitious and well-educated as they are is another challenge. Life for women may be difficult, but the system is no longer rigged against them. Again, you see the false concern. You see the problem for Christina is that men are not there as a product for women. we're an unsatisfactory product to them. In that we're not as well educated as them. That's her problem. She continues, in Freedom's day, women were clearly the second sex. Not so today. Yes, many women are struggling with the challenge of combining family and work, but men do not have it easy either. Well, thanks for the mention there. They are increasingly less educated than women. They are bearing the brunt of the recession. The New York Times recently reported that at a full 82% of the job losses have befallen men. Reuters referred to the surging male unemployment rate as a bloodbath. Meanwhile, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention fast stats show that men are less likely than women to be insured and more likely to drink, smoke, and be overweight. They also die 6 years earlier than women on average. Okay, again, in the 1950s, of Betty Friedan, I mean, women didn't have to work. That was the height of women's agency. And yet, again, this is another thing. This is why in my part 3 of the video, I was confused as to what she meant by patriarchy and what her views are on it. And yet here she is. She's saying that they were the second sex, and it's just, again, it's going back to that victimhood mentality. She doesn't use the word patriarchy, but that's the way